Welcome back, everyone. I am alone in the shop today, so I thought, why not have you guys hang out with me? So hopefully you stick around. What I am doing today is I am finishing up the park brake, and I am going to start figuring out how to get the hydraulic handbrake to work properly. So, bit of a task, learned some things already, and I'll share that with you. Okay, I'll catch you up. Where I am right now is I am working on the cable operated park brake. Now, this is actually a Camaro-style knuckle on here, and I don't know if it's the same on a Corvette or not, but anyways, I ordered a rear park brake cable kit for a Camaro, and it fits in great. Had to run the lines or the cables up and then build this piece up top here. So I got a piece of 1/4-inch plate, and then I built these fancy brackets, and I put a bunch of holes in for adjustment. I'm so glad I did that, because my goodness, does this cable in the back need to be pulled really far to make it work. And I needed some support here, so that's why I went with 1/4-inch. And it's bolted to the body. It's not all in, but that's hooked up. Now, on this thing, the cables, the way it turned out, I actually think on the factory Camaro, they may have had this whole thing offset to the driver's side by length of cable. Not much difference, but it is a little bit different. The driver or the passenger side cable appears to be longer. So if I did this again, it would actually solve some problems. I'm not redoing all this, but the cable would come to the front of the vehicle nicer. Now, all of the cable up to here is the factory Camaro stuff. I'll grab a light here. And what I did is I just made a little bracket here with some spacers that I can bolt this in. This normally would go into some kind of receiver piece. It's even got an O-ring on it, so it would be weather sealed. In this case, we are not worrying about it. And then this is the factory park brake joiner, and I had to make this cable up. Now, one of the issues that I wanted to solve was, well, in the factory, GM would actually run the cable across the bottom of the floor, and it might touch the exhaust, it might whatever. So I made this short cable up with sheathing, and that's gonna work out great because it'll get rid of a rattle. And then another bracket here. Now, this bracket right here, compared to this bracket right here, you can see this is on a cross member. Even though this cross member, I think it's got to be heavier gauge than the floor, it is totally solid. But on this one, I should have made the base bigger on it, because when I pull the cable hard, you can see that it just flexes the floor slightly. So I'm gonna have to make a bigger base on this, as well as up here. So, but moving forward, that being said, I made up this little joiner here. So just welded a nut in a couple pieces of flat that I bent up so it could hold the cable that I got. And then this clamps it all together. I'll be putting a backup nut on here. And the one sad thing, I was gonna put another sheath over this cable. It has a potential of rattling, and I don't have a sheath that can go over top of this. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to, I don't know, either capture this or put a piece of tubing over it, like a rubber tube or a sleeve or something, because yeah, I can't get one of my sheaths over top of the nut, and I don't really wanna try and do a new crimp on here. So I guess it's gonna be something fairly easy to solve, but. And then moving up front here, this cable that goes back to that joiner, this is the actual factory style cable that was used on these. And I had to make this bracket up here. And again, I'm gonna have to put a bigger foot on there. And then it goes into the factory pedal. So having said that, that's pretty cool. I love how that's going to work. The park brake actually works, but it is amazing. You have to, for the pedal swing, it has to be a long ways to actually get those brakes applied. So anyone that's doing a Camaro or a Corvette independent rear suspension swap, this might give you some ideas how to handle your setup. So now this car is going to be having a hydraulic handbrake, and I'm hiding it in the console. So that's the thing I'm tackling right now. So this master cylinder is from Willwood, and it is interrupting the brake line going to the back. Now, I was unsure on how to do this. Now, normally a hydraulic handbrake car that is in competition, you would take and add another caliper to the back here. And we're limited on room and suspension. I did look, it could fit up here, and I'd have to build some bracketry and stuff. And then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna talk to Willwood and see what we could do. And so I got a hold of the tech guys, and they gave me the guy that actually deals with drift cars, hydraulic handbrakes, designing this stuff. And I said, I would like to just use the factory caliper. And they were like, yeah, that's not a thing. So he worked with me. So this little master cylinder here is a steering master cylinder for rear brakes. So they would normally have two, like tractor puller kind of thing or whatever. And when this isn't applied, the brake fluid just goes straight through here. Now, being the intent on using it as a bit of a drift car, this thing is going to have a lot of power, so it's going to be able to spin the wheels, but in a corner to be able to stop the brakes, this is going to do it. So what it's using is the supply from the normal brakes, and you apply this this master cylinder, and it is going to like be able to use this as a source and put out some rear brakes. So I had to get a little bit creative to make this. So I made up this little assembly here and put some grease nipples in it and so on, and made it cable operate. So I think I'm gonna set up the stand so I can show you how it works. So I have this assembly mounted to the inside of the frame, and I have a 1-to-1 lever in here that is going to apply that caliper brake. Now, so this is a pivot system, and then this cable, and then the other end of the cable is going to get fed up into a handle in the car. And so what I've done, I'll pull on the cable here, is if I yank on the cable, it actually applies that and releases it with a spring, and it works really good. So it's greasable, moves really nice and free. So that part's pretty cool, but there is a bit more of a challenge, and I will show you that. Okay, the challenge is I have a long cable, which is not a big deal here, but the challenge is I have to run a cable in through the back here so that I can have the handle in the car operate. Now, if we look at this, we have the headers, we have exhaust coming through, it's coming through here, and I don't want to melt this cable off. So I have to figure out how I'm gonna clear the exhaust. So the next step is throwing the exhaust up. So we'll really quickly, super speed, get the exhaust onto this. Monkey?
Hello.
I guess I'm not alone. Perfect timing. Can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Okay, we got to get this exhaust up. I have the clamps hanging up there.
Okay.
So what I'm going to get you to do is hold the front of this. Okay, and you know how to get those in. They're stepped, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited. Murray was at a baby appointment, so I'm really excited that I get to be a grandpa. Okay, how's that looking there? Can you get the clamps slipped over?
you.
Oh, what am I hitting on? Oh, right here. Okay. Can you get, are you able to come hold this?
Yeah.
Okay. So turn around,
Okay.
back into me, back up. Okay, now this is quite heavy. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
It was like, oh yeah.
So me adjusting this header, it still worked out nice.
Perfect.
Ooh, this is difficult. Should I get a stand? Are you okay for a
I'm
while?
okay for just a little bit.
Okay, this isn't gonna work because we have to get those mounts up.
Okay.
So, can you see where we're hitting there? Where the blue mounts are? We have to squeak that forward upper.
Yeah.
Okay, can you get a screwdriver to pry those up?
Yes.
I should have just grabbed stands. This would have been a lot easier, but.
Good. Is this big enough? Or we need
Well, this one's falling apart on this side. Right here, at my thumb.
Oh, this is too. They're all falling off.
Okay. That's in. Okay, so you need a screwdriver. Don't let me get this side in. We're good. No, we're good. That sucked. Okay, I tell you what. Go grab one of those stands, the red stands over there, and the extension. Trying to shortcut. It's in behind me, right where the X is. The shortest extension. Yep. Pull the top out, drop that in.
Uh-oh.
It's too tight in that one?
Yeah.
Grab the other stand. That one's all. We should grab that one because that's the one that's bad. That one stands different size than all the rest.
That's of course the one that I got.
Out of all 8 stands.
We should mark it so then I know.
Or we could machine those extensions down.
Yeah.
See if it fits. Okay, is it gonna clear there? Yeah. Pull it to the side, put the top in.
Okay.
Okay. Now just wing that up. No, the handle. It's not a big deal, you don't have to worry.
No.
Can you center it up? Okay, keep going. Okay, so come get the back again. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that other.
Behind me.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. You okay?
Well,
Are you wearing out?
down just a little bit. And then
Yeah,
I'll finish
it'll
it.
stay by itself.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Lifting.
There we go.
How's this side look? Looks like it'll go right in.
Yeah.
Okay, now look at the back. Are those going in?
No, hold on. We gotta go down a little bit. There. Okay.
Better?
Yeah. Now
Now it's all in?
it was just the
Okay.
bolt was not letting it.
Okay, so now, can you get one of those back bolts in?
I don't know if that's going in. Because it's,
Looks like it.
yeah,
Do the other side.
the rubber is in my way. I can't see.
That look good?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Here.
The rubber thing is not working with it. It's not from the other side. There. Maybe. I can't turn it anymore. My hands are strong enough.
Yeah, we'll just keep working on this all. Okay, so you just make sure in case that isn't in, that you're just here. All right, thank you. I got it.
Okay.
So you're gonna work on the blaster?
Yeah.
How about her?
I don't think this one's in.
Yeah, go to the wrench and we'll look for it.
Okay.
All right, now that the exhaust is on, it's not all on perfect, but it is on. Looking pretty sweet. And I am actually quite pleased because I can wrap this cable around and I can enter the floor right here, right beside the tunnel. It's going to be a great entry point, and I'll be able to grommet it nice and flat, so making it easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drill a hole and get the cable fed inside here. And then we will look what is inside at the bracket I got made. All right, it looks like I'm gonna have to make an attachment point on the frame. But it looks like this is going to work out very lovely. Lovely, lovely. Not have a bunch of heat. Hello. Not have a bunch of heat issues from the mufflers, because it's barely going to go above that muffler. But do we want to be under or over that line? I bolt that on there. Oh, that's actually, I think we got to go over top of that. And over top of this. Okay, so if we clamp that on there, no rattles. And yeah, that's gonna work out really, really fabulously. We have to lube it that to get it through that grommet. She's tight. Body man, sorry, getting lube all over. Slipping G, will she go in? No, yes, perfect. That is gonna be styling. Well, I'm not sure what we're hitting inside. We have to go look. All right, inside the car, that's where that cable's coming in, and it's gonna be hid by the console, which I have the armrest just kind of sitting there now. And then this is gonna be the hydraulic handbrake. I just ordered a cheap handbrake handle, generic one, and we're gonna modify this so that it doesn't have teeth at the end. And there's gonna be another handle like this over there, so it looks like a, we'll call it the speed limiter. When your wife hits you, she can hang on to that instead of hitting you. I didn't say that out loud, did I? Anyways, so it needs to be a roughly 7-to-1 ratio. So I will measure out where we're going to be going there and here, and we're going to have to figure out a way to mount this now. There, like make a mount on the floor or on the side there somehow to hold this cable and run it over there. So I guess I better get underneath first and get it all tied up. So I'll do that, and then we will come back and carry on. Okay, so underneath the cable is all mounted, and I just unbolted and unplugged the seat. Got to get it out of the way because we have to figure out how I can mount this cable up top. So obviously it looks like we're going to have to cut the cable back, and we're not wanting the cable to engage probably in this area, but I'm gonna have to cut that back, and I'm not sure how it's gonna mount in here. It'll be on this side, and we're gonna have to build a mount that is supported by this bracket that I made. And the actual console of the car is going to be right against there. So honestly, I'm gonna just take a look at this thing. I probably got to pull this cable back out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can come up with a design of this, because I got to keep this cable tight. I want to keep the cable tight the whole time, but I don't want it to start pulling until we're in the range here. So I think there might have to be something spring-loaded to hold the cable tight, and then a slider on the cable. So I'll go look at what kind of cable pieces I have in the back. I keep a ton of cable crimps and cable parts and whatever, and I kind of started looking over this. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to attack this yet, but yeah, I'm going to have to crimp an end on the cable. I'm going to have to make a mount here to hold the sheath on this. And by the way, I just thought I'd mention this. This is kind of so these are cable crimps. You can buy kits of them, whatever. And what they're meant to do is they slide over the end of the cable, and you have this big crimping plier, which you'll probably see it on here, maybe not. Anyways, but these things, if you need a small spacer, these are aluminum, but if you need a small spacer in somewhere, these actually work really well. You can cut them down. I take them to the lathe and cut them down to whatever I need, but there's lots of different sizes, and I mean, they're pretty small. This is a 3/8 bolt. I'm thinking this is probably a 5/16 hole in this one, but anyway, just a little tidbit. Now, I have to keep this cable tight because this is going to stay level here, and because it's going to be hidden in the console, and we want it to just kind of be a hidden piece in here. And so when we go to activate it, we want to be able to put it up into this position where it's easy to grab, wherever that may be. And then that's when it starts to engage the cable. So I'm going to have quite a bit of slip. And I guess that brings me to another situation, is I need roughly 7-to-1 leverage, and down below is 1-to-1. So if I take this, so this is roughly inch, it's just a hair over inch and 9/16. It's very close to inch and 9/16, so inch and a half. So that's about 11, yeah, pretty close to 11 inches. And so if I measure up, look at that. So to the end of the handle is 11 inches. So if I use this first hole, this is a 7-to-1 lever. And that's pretty funny because I thought I might have to add to this. I'm going to add a little bit just to cover the end of this knob up a little bit so that it doesn't look so funky like it's supposed to do something, because the other side I have to match it. Now, these holes here, this is all metric, so nothing fits exact, but anyway, I'm going to have to drill this out. I don't know, maybe I can use this for a spring to pull this back down and keep it tight so it isn't something that sits there and rattles away when you're driving. I could potentially have that built into whatever this is. But what I need to do is when this thing pulls up, I don't want to be kinking the cable. So I need to maybe drill this out, use this shoulder and a lock nut on here with maybe some washers tacked to it. I got clearance in here for the head of the bolt, I think. And then if I do that, I could drill a hole in here and make it so that the cable slides through. And if I hold the cable tight with a spring mount somewhere out here, that should keep the cable tight. And then I could crimp an end on part way down the cable so that when it slides through, it actually grips the cable. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud how I can do this. So if it slid through there, but then this would be trying to cock sideways. Yeah, so to prevent this from cocking, I could take this, throw a spacer on this bolt that I made for this, because this was all sloppy. I could make a spacer and put another arm down that goes through here, and then maybe use a pin with a hole in it, or a shoulder bolt, or something, so that it could rotate and the cable wouldn't get cocked every time, and hopefully last so that it wouldn't break off. I don't know, it might jam up, but I mean, got to give it the best try that we can to have that cable rotate in there. So if I put another side on here, I don't have to worry about this flopping and pinching in there. It could potentially freely rotate as this comes up. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plasma cut out another arm that goes for on here. And actually, I might just grab a piece of flat. We'll see. Yeah, 1 by... That's 188. Flat, drill a hole. Drill through both layers there. I'll have to machine a little spacer, go in there. Yeah, that should be pretty stable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out and I'll get this modified, and then I'll come back with something that the cable can go through. Okay, here's what I came up with. I ended up taking and using a lighter plate on this, and so I thought, you know what, it's not going to be strength related, and what I'm going to do when I put this all together is I'm going to weld the bushing into here, so this will be totally secured. And I ended up, just in case the leverage didn't work out where it was nice, I thought I'd make it a little longer, so I actually have 2 positions. So this is the position that it's supposed to be calculated to be in. And what I did is I took this grade 8 bolt with shoulder that goes from here to here, so the threads won't bite in. And now this is a 1/8 hole. I drilled through that, and the cable's going to slide perfectly in there. There was one other thing that really was annoying me with this is originally when I bought this thing, the hole going through here was not straight and the bolt was loose. So I took a 3/8 bolt, machined the head off because of console clearance, and made this all straight, but it still was floppy and not real nice. So what I ended up doing is, I think a good solution is I took and I'll show you. Because of floppy, terrible, not tight, I drilled this bigger, and I actually put a bushing in here so that held, so I can tighten the bolt more this way and have a bushing on both sides. And that got rid of all of the floppiness in there that was kind of making it feel clunky and not real nice. And so now that is nice and tight, and I'm really comfortable with how that's turning out. So what I need to do now is I can get this back together quick, put in the right holes. So what I need to do is I'm going to mount this in here, but I need to figure out where I'm going to mount this cable, how much it's going to get cut back, what I can use for a spring, and to pull on the cable to keep it tight, And yeah, so I'm going to have to build a bracket off of here to hold the end of this. But it is late at night. Ended up having distractions today, which definitely weren't planned, so couldn't get as much time in as I wanted. And I woke up at just before 3 this morning and got up, and then, but what was a really big bonus, I fell back asleep from about 5:30 to almost 7 o'clock, so that's pretty sweet. But it is time for me to go in, shower up, and sit down for a little while, have a normal human conversation, and we will see you in the morning. Well, good morning. It is a new day, and the crazy thing is I woke up I had a great sleep. I woke up at 4 and realized that I was working myself into a corner. Like, I don't know if anyone can relate that you wake up and you come up with some like problem solving stuff, but it happens often to me. And that's what happened this morning. So I came out and realized the corner I was working myself into was, if I was to weld this all together, when I crimp the end on the cable that's going to hold it out here, I wouldn't be able to service this anymore. I wouldn't be able to powder coat it. I wouldn't be able to do anything with it because I couldn't disassemble it, because this would be welded together and the cable would be crimped to it. It'd be part of it. So what I ended up doing is, first of all, another thing is I thought, you know what? If I swing this the whole way, once I get a lock nut on here, it's going to be hitting in here. So if I swing this the whole way to the last click, I still have clearance. With the lock nut, I won't. So I ended up getting some lock nuts that are half the thickness. So that's going to solve that problem. And then the other thing is, well, I machined these both down to bring this closer in, trimmed this bolt up, which I'm still going to probably do a little bit more. We'll see. And then I machined a new spacer for here so that this is all bolted together and stable. So this is going to be super good. It won't be trying to caulk, anything like that. And then I switched, because these nuts are so close together, when I had the steel washers on here, this was actually stiff turning. So if I have a lock nut on here and I put nylon washers in, ground one side off so that we have clearance, but this thing now spins, well, I just tightened the nut. It spins so freely, it's just like nothing to it. So it's going to be great to have this in here, free spinning, like it's mild steel with a hardened bolt in, so it shouldn't gall up. And these nylon these nylon flat washers that we have in there, that should promote it moving. So anyway, if I would have kept going last night, I would have probably backed myself right into a corner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this bolted in, and I'm going to get underneath the car and pull the cable out of here, out of the sheath, and not all the way out, but enough that I can cut the outer sheath. Then I'm going to cut it back and figure out where I need to be for making a mount on here to be able to house this cable. And I think what I'm going to do is make it all into one piece, and the reason why is so I can make it adjustable and accurately adjustable, so if this ever has to get service taken apart, it can be done as an assembly. And that should make it really nice and serviceable. Don't tighten the bolts until you get them all started, hey? Okay, I've cut this off to a point where I think it should be all right. And what I did is I took a piece of couple inches of threaded rod. It's 5/8, and I drilled a just over 3/8 hole in it here and just over an eighth there. I'm not even sure. And that's got lots of clearance. This I know is going to be on the tight side. But the nice thing is this is a spiral cable, and I built these before. And when you put this on here, if you turn it one way, it'll turn on because this cable kind of collapses. You turn it the other way and it locks in place. So discovery that I made works pretty good. Now what this is going to do is I got 5/8 jam nuts, and I can put this in a bracket and keep this adjustable. Now I might have to lube it to get it started. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I'll have to lube it to get it started. Need more lube. I cut this off with a grinder, so it kind of wrecks the end of the rubber here, making it a little more difficult to get going. And I could probably be using a different lube. That's a cutting oil, but I think we got her going there. Yeah. So if I turn it on right, it just turns right on. Now I've drilled this. There's only this much on the end, stopping right there, like so it butts up against the end of that. And I got lube all over everything, but it dries out nice. It's water base. So this is going to have to be up here somehow. And then the bottom of the cable has threads on it, but it's not really adjustable. You could adjust it by putting washers on it, I guess. You'd have to slot the washers to get over the end, but you could adjust it down there. Then the mechanism I made below, where the little lever is on the actual master cylinder down there, the rod end has some adjustment to it, so that's adjustable. And then this is going to be a bit adjustable as well. So I don't know, I think we're going to be good for making this, adjustable. So let's just take a look here. That just slides beautifully. So if I can captivate that, oh, that's past the end of where I need to be. Okay, so that's probably going to be the max of where it is. So I'm going to have to make a spring mount out there. And then comes back to there. So the height, I would say, we're going to aim. So I'm going to have to build a bracket now that comes off and goes about halfway here. And then what I think I might do is put another leg down to here with that bracket so that it has extra support when you're pulling on this. This has a foot down here and there, but it'd be nice to be able to have another foot back here. Just give this stability. Because I mean, if you're playing out on the racetrack, you might not be the most gentle person. So I think another leg here would be good. That would give this lots of nice support. Yep. All right. I've taken my cardboard template now and drew it on the program to cut it out, and I made this a little long because I really don't know what's going to happen here. This is where it's going to get the fold, so we'll get it cut out. Okay, I just have this piece and it's just kind of clamped on there, sitting there, and right now, as of right now, of course, I'm gonna have to get all the proper bolts made for in here. So this is gonna work out very stylish, and there's room for me to move this quite a bit here. Yeah, enough for a jam net there. And I'll go the opposite way, and the cable's still very free. This is gonna be perfect. So I'm just gonna template and build a leg in here, and we'll tack it all together and take a look at it. The bracket, I have it just lightly tacked on, and that little leg we have joined there, it's tacked on here, and there's going to be a nut cert installed there. What I'm going to do now is take it over to the bench. We're going to weld it out and then trim off the excess, make that look pretty there. But I think this bracket is coming along good. I'm not sure if we get this together right now, if I'm going to be able to make the spring release and stuff, because I think the video is getting long, as well as I need to make sure that everything that we crimp on to this cable is going to be able to fit out that hole. I might have to make a bigger grommet hole. I'll get it buttoned up and bolted back in. All right, welded up, cleaned up, bolted in, temporary, but I mean, it's close enough that I can get a pilot hole figured out. All right, now I'm going to pull this out and we will put in a nut cert. Now, it's pretty important to me that I get in a structural member for all of this. So there's actually a cross member under the car, and this is the lips where the spot welds are holding it together. And I can get the nut certs into those, and that's going to give me a ton of support. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Looks pretty neat. Not like anyone is going to see it. It's going to be hidden behind or underneath the console. But that really is what I needed to get the basic structure of this figured out for, is because I need to get the console built. Well, I need to get all of the wiring stuff figured out where I can mount it, and then get the console built around it. So that's kind of a combination thing. And so that leads me potentially to what I'm going to do maybe in the next video. We'll figure that out. But I think I'm going to be, once this is in, I think I'm going to be close to being wrapped up with this one. I'll have to use, proper washers and stuff underneath these bolts. And my jam nuts won't be here to actually get the cable. Sorry, my jam nuts aren't going to be here I can't do two things at once, obviously. My jam nuts are going to be here for this cable end that I made for a bit. I don't know when, a couple days, whatever. Getting them from my local supplier. Anyways, I really am happy with that turned out. So I know I got to get fluid in to be able to adjust it and so on. And then I don't know, I have to make something out here that's going to be able to hold a spring that's going to hold this cable tight in here. So when this is sliding, it can't fall out anywhere. So it's going to be a light spring of some kind. And then I also am going to need a spring on here somewhere that maybe goes from here to here or something, just so that this wants to return down. But I think for now, I can't put fluid in it yet. I'm probably going to wait until the end to do that. But whoa. Hold the bus. I thought this video was done. But I pushed the grommet out in the back to make sure everything would fit through. You guys probably saw this the whole time along. Duh. Anyways, if I crimp an end on this, the bolt isn't going to come out of the side. So I would either have to have this through the grommet hole to get it apart, because the bottom end isn't going to fit through the hole, or this to fit through the hole. So I just went over and machined the head of that bolt off and threaded the other end of it. And I can put a lock, one of those shallow lock nuts on there. So we'll carry on with the ending of this video.